Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. And what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat. Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat.
And now, Getcha Life with your host, Dr. Lisa.
All right. Hey, this is Dr. Lisa, and it is time to get your life, So we're coming to you each week, and today I'm so happy to be out in LA, coming live from the LA Radio Now studio. I'm out in LA on the West Coast with host and studio producer, owner, and visionary Troy Rawlings, and we were just talking this past week about how we've actually been friends for some 20 years, and I was thinking how many of us actually can say that we've had friends in our life for that long. We were talking about how friends come and friends go, and I'm just wondering how many of us actually have held on to relationships for that long and can actually say they've been authentic relationships. So we were talking about people in our lives that we value and how God is a God actually of restoration in so many different relationships. Yeah, we were having that conversation today actually over lunch. And so welcome to my show today, Troy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be a part of Get Your Life. Came out here to get your life in LA. We can't talk about that right now.
Well, actually celebrating life this week, celebrating another year of life. We are actually both February babies. We're celebrating birthdays this month. My birthday on the 1st of the month, and so he's helping me celebrate this week. And so glad to be birthing this radio show this week. It's just amazing watching what God has done in both of our lives over the 20 years that we've known one another. It is absolutely crazy to see what God has done, how he came out here 10 years ago with nothing but a vision from God, and how God has just expanded and grown and done so much in his life. And over these 10 years, how we've just caught up with one another over what God has done in our ministries and our businesses. And now we've just reconnected over this LA radio, and I just can't wait to see what God is going to do from coast to coast through the airways. And this Get Your Life segment, it actually birthed for me on the East Coast as I was doing just a 1-minute verse actually on a hip hop show on WEAA in Baltimore at Morgan State, which actually is where Troy, I believe, was on for a little while. When he was back in Baltimore, he was on several stations at home, and now we're expanding it to actually talk about what it takes to really live that abundant life that Jesus talked about. He said, the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, but I have come that they may have life and have it to the full, have it abundantly. And so, so often we throw these words at people, but we don't actually give them the tools and equipping that we need in practical, everyday language. Right. What's it going to take to really get your life? And so these 30 minutes we're going to share each weekend. I'm excited about it. I'm ready to do it, ready to dig in. And today, of course, we're going to hit one of the hot topics that really hit the media towards the end of last year. It started in Hollywood, and so it's fitting that we would start with this since I'm in LA. Started with the Harvey Weinstein scandal, the exposure of all of the sex scandals and harassment and things going on out here, but it's really just crossed all of the lines into every industry and has so many women saying, "Me too, me too." This movement has really caused us to ask the question, what impact is this going to have? What impact is this Me Too, is this Time's Up movement going to have on women now? What's it going to mean for us? What's it going to mean for women in leadership, women in business, in this male-dominated industry? because it really has taken off. It has grown. And as I looked into really the beginnings of this Me Too movement, I saw actually that the founder of the Me Too movement, Tarana Burke, actually founded it back in 2006. Wow. And so this is not a new movement, but it actually took wings when the right persons, when the visible celebrities came forward with it. You know, sometimes things don't really come to the forefront until high profile people.
Like Dr. King and the bus boycott.
Exactly. So high profile people come forward and they say, Me Too. So women have been suffering and going through these assaults and these violations for years. I actually found that as far as reported cases of sexual assaults and sexual harassments, the reported cases in our country since 1998, there have been 17,700,000 reported cases of sexual assaults. But these things have not been at the forefront of our attention until really the end of 2017. We found that Time Magazine made the Person of the Year for 2017. It was collectively the silence breakers, those who spoke out, because for so long, women particularly were suffering in silence because they didn't know that so many others were really saying, Me Too. And so, Tarana Burke's mission really, if you look at the Me Too website, she said, we want to uplift radical community healing as a social justice issue. You know, so often when we look at social justice, we're looking at things like police brutality, which is certainly a major issue. We're looking at things like economic equality, which is certainly a pressing social justice issue. But this Me Too movement of harassment and how we are violating those who cannot defend ourselves, this is a social justice issue. And it says we're committed to disrupting all systems that allow sexual violence to flourish. Systems that are allowing sexual violence to flourish. Looking at how these systems have been put in place to shame victims into staying quiet, to shame victims into staying quiet. And so it's been a blessing to me to see so many persons, high profile persons, standing on these red carpets at these award ceremonies and these high profile television events with white roses and ribbons on their clothing, standing in solidarity with those who cannot speak up for themselves and those who felt that they had no choice but to be complicit, advocating for legislation to punish companies that are perpetuating systems that are allowing this persistent harassment and normalizing this kind of treatment, this movement towards gender equality. And we're just saluting the men who are coming forward and saying it is not right that we are doing the same work but getting drastically different pay, these disparities for equal work, calling for equality and setting up these defense funds for those who cannot pay to see that the perpetrators are held accountable for their behavior. And so this Me Too movement, this Time's Up movement that has been snowballing, it is such a power movement that has really taken our nation by storm. We have yet to see really what the impact is going to be in leadership for women, in business for women. We have yet to really see what the change is going to be, but I would suggest that the first change is going to have to be cultural.
Yeah.
It's going to have to change the culture first. We're going to have to change mindsets and the things that we have accepted over all these years as normal. We're going to have to look at it and say, you know what, this is not normal, and it's not okay to accept it as normal. Let's hear your perspective as my guest today, Troy.
I think the hardest part of seeing what's happening in the movement is that it doesn't make me feel better. Mm-hmm. There's nothing about it that makes me feel good. Even when you mentioned 17,700,000 reported cases, that's staggering in 20 years, because that's the cases that people said, you know what, besides what someone will say about me, besides what if they think I'm loose and they're going to try to talk about me, besides if I lose my job, besides if this man leaves me, besides if I'm still going to report this. So that means that it may be quadruple that who didn't report it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I remember there was a lady named Ida Craddock years ago in the 1800s that wrote a book called The Wedding Night. Ida was later arrested for passing along obscenities in the mail but this woman started writing that book because married women were being raped by their husbands. Mm. She wrote a book telling them, look, man, if she's not in the mood and she doesn't want it, or there's a certain way you should deal with your wife and do different things. It was such a culture to disrespect women that it's amazing that hundreds of years later, we're still in a culture that disrespects women. Mm-hmm. But it's just different now. If I can, I can't talk about it and not talk about hip hop. We are the hip hop generation. Mm-hmm. You know, we may think we're getting older, but we are the hip hop generation. Mm-hmm. We are Generation X. So to think of what we've watched happen in music and TV and film, Missy Elliott was receiving an award, and she was talking about at the Essence piece they did for Missy, and Janet Jackson gave her an award, and she was talking about how when image changed and they started putting women in who they thought were prettier, she was pretty much saying, you know, it wasn't even about talent. Let's get somebody in here who's prettier, sexier, and do this and do that. But the images that our women and our girls have seen, and as a man, I'm just with a daughter and who has many women in my life who have done phenomenal things and that I love and care about. I just think, what can we do better to make it so that every woman is... I've had women in their 30s and 40s, as of recent in the last 5 to 10 years, admit to me that within the last 5 or 10 years, they were raped or attacked or date raped. And it was crushing to me because it was so, I just felt like I was a person of position. See, when these women came forth, it's hard. It's a hard thing, because when the women who started coming forth came forth, especially the women who waited and that are successful, all I can continue to do is think about the women who didn't get the jobs. So I'm not happy about it. I'm just trying to think of how, as a man and as men who are influenced, how can men do better? You know what I'm saying? Because there's not a lot of, even in Hollywood, I see the women standing up, but I haven't seen a lot of men grab a microphone and say, this is wrong, all y'all wrong. Because I think every man is taking a minute and say, hold up, let me think.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's when I was joking about with you earlier about being in business stuff, but I think every man is coming to the point where he's like, hold up, let me think. Who have I disrespected? Do I have to apologize to somebody? Am I going to lose a position? So even when you see that when Oprah was talking at the awards and you saw the men in the crowd, some of the men was just sitting there. They didn't know if they wanted to clap, say something. Am I good? Is the camera on me? Did I do anything recently? How's my wife feel about me today? Was my daughter upset with me? We just need to be better people. But as men, it makes you want to be a better man, more responsible man, and more protective man. So it's definitely it's an awakening. It's an awakening. And I'm glad the conversation is coming to the forefront, and I'm glad that women are getting. But until we start seeing some heads roll on the justice side, it hasn't meant anything to me yet. That's the point. I mean, not saying that women don't mean anything, because that's what we're looking for.
Right.
We're looking for some cases to hit.
Yeah.
Like when the Black Lives Matter stuff was happening, then all of a sudden some cops started getting life. It was like, we feel a little something now.
Yeah.
But we need some cases to hit. We need some women to feel a little vindicated because someone took justice on her behalf. But, yeah.
And I think that it's opened a door to a broader conversation.
Right.
In terms of our sexual behavior.
Yes.
Because now the question is, what is flirting and what is going too far?
Yeah.
What is acceptable and what is unacceptable.
Some people have been getting away with a lot of stuff for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
We push it.
That the assumption of, it's okay for you to say this to a woman. It's not okay to say that. We are in the 50 Shades of Grey area now. Because to one woman, this might be flirting, and to another, this might not be.
And
it's too much.
If you're a fat executive who she said no when she first saw you, before you said anything, it was like, hi, and she actually, hi. If she started the conversation like that versus the guy that she's like, oh my God, hey, how are you, sweetie? Oh, sweetie. But he say sweetie, and it's like, look, I told you before.
Exactly. So it's how far is too far, how much is friendly and how much is uncomfortable, how well do you know this person? And so now it has caused a complete redefining of our professional, our friendly, our bantering behavior in every aspect of life. And so we're going to take a quick break, and I think we're going to come back, and when we come back, we're going to delve a little more into male-female behavior. All right. All righty.
We'll be back with Get Your Life, Dr. Lisa. If you want to hit up Dr. Lisa,
you can email me at questionsdrlisa@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Get Your Life with Dr. Lisa.
Welcome back. We are talking about the impact of the Me Too, the movement on women in leadership and business. And as we left off talking, we were looking at male-female behavior in the workplace, out in the world, in our social interactions, and the type of cultural change that's going to have to take place in order for things to really shift. And what we were sharing as we were talking before we left is really that we have to begin to look differently at how we interact with one another. I'm a firm believer that how we treat ourselves dictates how others will treat us. How we present ourselves dictates how others will receive us. I always, as I'm sharing with other women, how you present yourself to others is kind of your calling card. It's your business card that introduces yourself to them. And so if you present yourself in a gray manner, then you're more likely to be received in a gray manner. I am very, very deliberate in sharing with the young women that I mentor, the women's ministries that I share with, that, we have to be very secure in our own worth and very deliberate in dressing the part. And then as we do that, it presents to others the expectation that we want to receive. I think there is an inner confidence that has to be projected, and then it has to be upheld. And so suppose the perpetrator wants to try you to see if you will bend, if you will compromise your morals in order to get something. When you know who you are and you know what you are worth, then a woman of value will trust that she is worthy enough to get it without having to compromise herself. If it doesn't come through this door, as a woman of faith, I believe that God will open another door. And that is all right with me. That is quite all right with me. We have to come to a place where how we feel about ourselves is more important than saving face with anyone else. At the end of the day, we have to lay our head down and be at peace with ourselves. And so it's a personal decision that we have to make. But I think the first step of this Me Too movement is knowing finally that we're not alone in what we've had to endure. You are not the only one who has faced what you've had to face. And so you do not have to go through the shame. You do not have to go through the pain by yourself. But there are others out there who have gone through this and who are recovering, who are being strengthened by it, and who can stand with you when you have to say, I will not endure this again. Let me ask my guest who is speaking on behalf of the brothers today, because
forgive me, man.
Yeah, no, actually, you brought up a really, really great point, though, in that the men have been somewhat quiet, and I think it is because of this whole gray area, and what's okay, what's not okay.
Right.
But I think that as our men also look to us and establish perhaps a new norm of respecting women.
Yeah.
I think that a new level of comfort perhaps will be established culturally in how we treat one another.
Yeah, I think it has to, like we said before, this has to take place because, like I mentioned, Ida Craddock, the thing that I loved about her story, and it's part of the sexual revolution, everything, but the thing that I loved about her story is that there were men that, she couldn't just send this to women. There were men that started being receptive to, oh my goodness, I didn't realize my wife, almost like them saying, I didn't realize my wife mattered, or she had feelings like that, or that she actually, I thought she may never want it. No, she wants what you want, ... Women who are in position, who got in position and had to go through some heinous stuff, and later on they're in position and now they can say, because the stuff is coming out, hey, me too, it's a way for women to be able to voice what happened now that they feel comfortable. But like I mentioned, this 17,700,000 cases, sexual assault cases that were reported, I want to see how many of those cases went to some kind of court case or some kind of law jurisdiction, and how many of those court cases turned into actual convictions. Because if it drops from 17 million to several hundred or several thousand, there's a big problem. And don't get me wrong, do I believe all of those cases are valid? Of course not. But at the same time, the thousands and millions of women that do have valid cases, we just have to be more mindful. We just need to be more, us who are men who are mindful of the women in our lives, we have to be more protective. We have to be more open so that if anything happens, I started praying over my daughter before she was out of mom's womb, to the point where I'm overprotective. And it may seem like a terrible thing, but the one thing I do know, if anybody ever touches my daughter a wrong way, the first thing she'll say is, "Daddy, can I talk to you?" I gave her that. I said, Zoe, if you ever say, "Daddy, can I talk to you?" Whatever you say after that, you can never get in trouble for it.
That's right.
If you ever say those, "Daddy, can I talk to you?" I will stop. Now she doesn't make fun of me. I'll be driving. "Daddy, can I talk to you?" "Oh, let me turn the window. Do I gotta pull over?"
That's right.
Because our daughters and our sons and our families, everybody needs to know that there are certain words they can say to us that will have our undivided attention. That's right. We don't have undivided attention anymore. The cell phones, the computers, the laptop. And what happens is, all of a sudden, a lot of these women who didn't say anything probably feel like, I don't want to disrupt everybody else's day.
Wow.
I don't want to cause any problems. I don't know what they'll say about me. All that they're saying, I'm not that important.
Right.
But we need to show our family, our friends, our loved ones, our women, our children, our daughters, our sisters, our mothers, that they are that important. Put the phone down for a second and give them some words that, "Hey, babe, if you ever come to me," it could be a wife, girlfriend. "Hey, if you ever come to me and say, 'Hey, can I talk to you about something?'" Because, guys, we hear that comment from a woman, we're like, "Oh, Lord, what I do?" But give your women a word, give your women a phrase that lets them know that they can talk to you about something. Yes. Because a lot of women are living with stuff that they shouldn't have to live with on their own.
Yes. And so we affirm our own self-worth and we make sure, ladies, that we are making ourselves a force to be reckoned with in leadership and in business, so that we are more than hips, lips, and fingertips, so that we indeed, amen, can dominate any industry. Hips, lips, and
that's
right. And so that's how we get our life. We know who we are and we represent. And so this has been Get Your Life with Dr. Lisa. Visit my website, lisaweah.com, lisaweah.com. Also, questions, Dr. Lisa Weah at gmail.com. I'd love to hear your feedback on today's show, topics for upcoming shows. Looking forward to coming back to you on next weekend with our next compelling topic. In the meantime, don't forget to get your life.